Hello friends, welcome to Guruji Astro. Your weekly horoscope for 26 September to 2 October is for Aries. Mercury stations retrograde in your relationship sector on 27th, forcing you to face some uncomfortable truths about where you stand in a work alliance. You usually don't have a problem speaking your mind, but you may be feeling like you can't have an honest discussion with your boss or a co-worker. But when one of their secrets is revealed on the first, the power dynamic changes once again. This week's mantra is don't speak too soon. For Taurus, Mercury stations retrograde on 27th in the part of your chart which rules the daily grind. You have been working too hard and something's gotta give. You may need to normalize taking long breaks, step away from your laptop for a couple of hours in afternoon and sunbathe, or do some yoga instead. Remember, there's no price for burning yourself out. If you're allowed to pause, an idea that could change everything about career path, love life, living situation arrives as Mercury squares Pluto on the 1st. This week's mantra is let it come to you. For Gemini, Libra season has already stirred up tons of activity for your family, especially your kids. As Mercury stations retrograde on 27th, you are asked to pause and recalibrate your schedule so you can spend some actual quality time at home. On 1st, as Mercury squares off with Pluto, your business partner or hubby agrees to take on some extra responsibilities so you can take the little ones apple picking without any worries. This week's mantra is joy is a never waste of time. For Cancer, Mercury stations retrograde in your home sector on the 27th. If you are frustrated with your family or stressed out about moving, know that things are going to be even more hectic over the next few weeks. Miscommunications are constant, so try to hash things out on phone rather than putting your thoughts into the text. Everyone's having trouble reading tone. Thankfully, on the 1st, as Mercury squares Pluto, a clear message from someone else gets you back on track. This week's mantra is use your words. For Leo, Mercury stations retrograde in a short trip sector on the 27th, which throws a wrench in your plans for a getaway this weekend. Your car needs new tires, your BFF has come down with the flu, and your hubby can't get off work after all. Time to recalibrate the plan. With Mercury squaring off Pluto on the 1st, bringing some unforeseen work to your attention, you might need to spend the weekend grinding anyway. This week's mantra is, if it's already stressful, don't push it. For Virgo, your ruling planet Mercury station retrograde in your finance sector in 27th. So if you have been waiting for a payout from a freelance gig or boss to make good on a conversation about a raise, know that you might have to wait a bit longer, at least a few more weeks. Mercury's clash with Pluto on the 1st open your eyes to new creative opportunity that won't pay the bills but absolutely feeds your soul. This week's mantra is have patience. For Libra, you are always trying to be pleasant, the person who everyone else wants to be around. But with Mercury stationing retrograde in a sign on the 27th, you might be feeling unwell and thus ruffling everyone's feathers. As Mercury squares off with Pluto on the 1st, you get some difficult news from your landlord or your parents that you shouldn't take personally, but ends up ruining your day. Remember, you are only responsible for you. This week's mantra is drop the facade. For Scorpio, Mercury stations retrograde in an unconscious sector on 27th. Though this is a time to review for everyone, the next few weeks are going to be particularly introspective for you. You might find that you have way less energy for social media activities and you definitely don't have room to deal with anyone else's bullshit. As Mercury clashes with Pluto on the 1st, a text from an old friend piques your curiosity. Tread carefully while digging up the past. This week's mantra is need clarity, try introspection. For Sagittarius, Mercury stations retrograde in a social sector on 27. Suddenly, you are hearing from close friends who have been MIA since March 2020, members of your college sorority or your high school BFF who moved away the summer before junior year. The next few weeks are perfect time for you to reconnect. Also a wonderful moment to really consider who is actually worth your time. This week's mantra is mind the past but exist in the present. For Capricorn, Mercury retrograde begins on 27th and for you. This transit may have you going second guessing the choices you have made in your career. Not that you are one to make rash decisions, but be careful not to stew in your frustration with your boss so much that you quit your job, especially on the 1st. Use the next few weeks instead to consider other options and review the hidden benefits of your current position. This week's mantra is there's no need to rush into the next thing. Aquarius, Mercury retrograde kicks off on 27th in your travel sector, spurring you to revisit plans for an abandoned honeymoon or push your BFF to reconsider a girl's trip to Japan. Your wanderlust is strong, so is your desire to expand your mind. But try to spend the next few weeks in research mode. Wait until Mercury goes direct on October 18 to obtain any tickets, as any purchase during the retrograde itself is a subject to returns and delays. This week's mantra is you are what you read about. For Pisces, Mercury retrograde begins on 27th in your shared resources sector. You have been saving and planning for years to buy an apartment with your girlfriend. But this week, as you are about to seal the deals, someone else beats you offer. Sometimes the things just aren't meant to be. On the first, as Mercury clashes with Pluto, an intriguing alternative investment pops up. Take the next few weeks to consider what you really need in a home. This week's mantra is disappointments can be a blessing. So friends, I hope you liked the video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Guruji Astro channel. Thank